So, I'm about to be interviewed by one of my really, really good friends, Keshi. He is the owner of REJUVCO, which is a company that specializes in helping people with investments, life insurance, and so many more things. We're definitely going to get him to speak to you guys more about his company, and about to get hyped up for this interview. Woke me up.
I like that. I like that.
How y'all doing? Y'all see the fit over here though? Hey, Snoop not regular, man. Y'all see the fit over here?
Okay.
This big Snoop. You know what I mean? We're excited to have you here.
I'm happy to be here, man.
I mean, I know you're busy. Like, you just got done opening up another restaurant.
Yeah.
Like what? Like 2 days ago, 3 days ago?
Mm-hmm.
At Dallas?
Yeah, grand opening at Esco.
We're excited to have you. Like that's, I don't even know how to express it, because I know you're super busy. These people who are here are guests, they're agents, they're entrepreneurs in their own rights. They all from different backgrounds. So just hearing from somebody like you, I think is going to be tremendous inspiration. So we're just thankful, all right? But first, I want to get to know who Snoop is. Okay. A lot of people don't know where you're from, how you were raised, who you were raised by. So if we could dive into a little bit of who Snoop is and where you're from and things of that nature.
Sure. So I am originally from Detroit, Michigan. Lived in Detroit and up until I was about 10 years old. My mom, me, her, and my two brothers, we moved to Nashville, Tennessee when I was 10. So that was a pretty big transition going from a big, city that's full of black people to, Nashville, Tennessee, country, rednecks, So that was definitely, a really big change. All of our family is still in Detroit. I actually started school when I was 3. Graduated from high school when I was 15. I got pregnant with my daughter the first time I had sex at 14, and I had her at 15. She actually was in foster care for the first 4 years of her life. My mother did not know that I was pregnant. Basically kept it as a secret from my whole family, was just scared. Didn't really know how to, tell anybody. And my mom really didn't handle it the right way, So my daughter ended up being in foster care. We got her back when I graduated from college. I went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, which is an Ivy League top 20 school. Went there at the age 16. Wow. And I feel like for me, you know how they say that college isn't for everybody? I truly do believe that it's not for everybody. I honestly can't tell you many things that I learned in college book-wise, but I grew up on that college campus because I was only 16 years old, you know what I mean? So I matured there, learned how to party there, met a lot of my friends there that are still in my life today. After college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I've always said that there needs to be a course, either in high school curriculum or college curriculum, where you're able to just find out about a lot of different types of industries. Yeah. You have so many people that end up, like even a lot of my friends after Vanderbilt, they went to law school, they went to medical school, and ended up totally hating it. So we have people that make career changes, later on in life, So for me, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I studied economics. I ended up becoming a financial advisor right out of school. I was very successful in doing that, but it just wasn't me. I didn't want to have to put on a suit every single day. I had learned that I kind of had a love for partying, cooking, and stuff like that when I was in college. And eventually I opened up my first lounge at the age of 24. I was 24 when I opened up my first spot. It was called the G Spot.
Wait, no, you can't stop there. What's the inspiration in that name? We can't just leave that
We're
alone.
not gonna let
It's all
But
right.
I actually had it tattooed on my neck. I mean, just crazy time period. You know, the things we do young follow us throughout our entire lives. But anyway, I invested every single dime I had in this club. And we did not do it the right way. I had business partners that had more experience than I did. And so they were supposed to be helping, getting the licenses, the permits, all of those things. They did not do it properly. We were permanently shut down within 3 months
Wow.
after opening it. So lost everything I had. This was around 2008, 2009. So the first financial crisis, of my lifetime, probably most of you all's lifetime. I had a lot of real estate property at the time. I was seeing all of them get foreclosed on one by one by one. At that point, it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? I had took a job, kind of like a sales job, B2B outside sales. And we were on a trip. So mind you, I'm still living in Nashville, Tennessee. So we were on a trip, me and some of the guys that work for the company, and we were going to these various gas stations trying to get them to switch their services over to AT&T. And I kept seeing these little magazines that were sitting on the counter. It was called Just Busted. Have any of you guys ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. So Just Busted, I don't even know if they're still in business, but it was a very popular publication that basically it would come out once a week, and it had mug shots as well as charges of people that had gotten arrested. So it was like, this little neighborhood tabloid, you know what I'm saying? And so anyway, me and those guys, we decided to take that idea back to Nashville, Tennessee and recreate that. And so we did a newspaper called Face It. And now for me, I thought it was a good business idea, and it was out of survival, but I was never proud of it. I couldn't tell my friends that I was behind this newspaper because I was somebody who had made many mistakes in life, had been arrested, for, thank God, nothing major, but I could have easily ended up being in this newspaper, So long story short, one of the guys that I was working with, he started stealing, some of the money. Started embezzling, money from the company.
Oh.
And had a conversation with him. He kept doing it. And it was just like, look, man, I'm a single mother. I'm trying to raise my daughter. I can't deal with this. I'm just going to step away from this company. And that's when I learned that no amount of money is worth your peace. Yeah. So I stepped away. And what I did was I went to Knoxville, another little small city in Tennessee. And I opened up a publication there. I named it something else. It was named Caught Up. I ended up having various editions of this publication in many cities: Pensacola, Florida, Knoxville, Tennessee, Western Kentucky. I probably had about 4 or 5.
How are you getting in these different locations?
So I was just going into various gas station stores and just saying, hey, I got this paper. We're selling it for $1. If you carry it, we'll give you 25 cents, for each copy that's sold, So I had these several publications. Really wasn't making a lot of money from it. I was probably making $50,000-$60,000 a year. But I only really had to work a couple days a week. So I was living in Nashville. At the time, I was just going to restaurants like, Red Lobster, Chili's, stuff like that, so I could live off of $50,000-$60,000 a year. But ended up deciding that I wanted to move to Atlanta, Georgia. Not too far from Nashville. I used to always say I would never move to Atlanta because I never wanted to do what everybody else was doing. And so everybody in Nashville, they wanted to move and go to a bigger city, they would come to Atlanta because it was only about 4 hours, a 4-hour drive. But anyway, I came down here, visited, came during Labor Day weekend. Now, Labor Day weekend has truly changed a lot, but when I moved here 16 years ago, Labor Day weekend was the So, and then, of course, as me being a part of the LGBTQ community, it was also Pride weekend. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm missing out. I'm moving to Atlanta. I came Labor Day weekend in September. By December, I was a resident of Atlanta, Georgia. So ended up moving here. My mom kept my daughter for about a year for me just so that I could get acquainted with the city, decide what I was going to do. In the period of me moving here, the guy that was helping run my newspaper, he decides that he wants to steal the company from me up under my nose.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of this information is also on my website too, y'all, WhoIsSnoop.com. But anyway, so what basically happened was one particular week, everybody just started quitting on me, you know. First it was the delivery drivers. Then it was the guy who actually did the layout for the paper, the graphic designer. Then it was the manager. And so what happened was when I had to go there the following week to collect, I saw there was a new paper sitting next to mine, and it was with this guy that told me that, you know, he wanted to rename the paper. So, you know, he was the one that was running the company, and pretty much kind of stole it from me up under my nose. And that's one of my things, no matter how successful I get, no matter how passive a business can be, you still got to show up. You know what I mean? You still have to keep your ideas. You know, he knew all of the rates that I was paying these gas stations or stores, so he was able to just go in and say, okay, well, you know, you get 20 cents on that paper, you can get 30. You know, if you just carry mine.
How did you do with that? Because most people, they have the idea of starting a business, right? And then when things like that happen, like they don't want to do entrepreneurship anymore. They're like, okay, I'm tired of this entrepreneurship stuff. What made you keep going? Like, how did you deal with that type of backstabbing at that moment? What were you going through, and how did you get through it?
At that moment, I mean, I was extremely hurt because I felt betrayed and backstabbed. Now, I had to make a decision. Do I love this company this much to fight this? Can I fight it? When he lives there locally, I would have to do a lot of traveling, you know, from Atlanta to go there. For me, it just wasn't worth it. And I just decided to let him have it. Again, no amount of money is worth my peace. And that wasn't even much money. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, you know, I really had to think, like, what am I going to do now? You know, because that was what I did for a living. And so entrepreneurship again. I started a clothing line. My daughter was outside of my girlfriend's boutique at the time selling waters. People thinking, you know, I'm just putting her on a hustle, but this is actually for the house, you know.
Where did your hustle mentality come from? Like, because it seems
I think it
like
probably came from my mom and my dad. You know, my mom, her father was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
My dad, you know, they came from a really long line of drug dealers, but that's a hustle. You know? It's just an illegal hustle. But yeah, so when this happened, you know, I really had to just put the bootstraps on, and, you know, I did a lot of praying, and my mom was just like, you know, whatever you do, you know, don't go back to the streets. You know, what you do in your moment of struggle is really going to determine how you come out of it. And that's something, you know, that I've always remembered. I was blessed at the time with a very supportive partner, and I had a house that I was flipping, so that was kind of a little something in the bank. But, you know, with real estate, it's not liquid, so, you know, you don't have any money until either you sell it or, you know, take a HELOC out or something like that. When I was down to, y'all, probably my last $100, this house sold, thank God. And I just took the first offer that came along. I only made probably about 10 grand off of it. But I had paid cash for the house, so I was able to get that money out, plus the 10 grand, you know, after realtor fees and all of that was paid. And so then that's when I opened up my party bus company. And I would say that was my first successful, legit business, was this party bus company. But once again, I hated it. I drove the bus on the weekends. I drove the bus for a lot of bookings. If any of you guys have ever been around drunk people while you're sober, they are annoying. We don't know how annoying we are when we're intoxicated. So I'm in the front of this bus, of course, I'm sober, driving, and 15 people in the back acting crazy. I'm having to play so many different roles. But the party bus company, it was very successful. I was able to save my first 50 grand in cash, which, ended up being 75,000. And by me having that financial advisor mindset, I was always into investing.
Oh.
You will never get rich just from saving money.
No.
Never. So once I really got on my feet, had this party bus company, had some money saved up, I ended up, me and the lady that I was dealing with at the time, we broke up, and I had moved to the Auburn Avenue, Jesse Hill Drive area.
Yeah.
And I kept telling her, because I was also throwing parties on the side, so I was a party promoter as well. And I had kept saying to myself, I kind of want to get back into the lounge ownership, game. I want to get back into hospitality. Even though, I had had such this bad experience when I was 24, lost everything I had, it was like, I want to try this again. Finding this super, super small location. It wasn't even 1,000 square feet, y'all. It was so little. People, did you ever come to the hookah?
Yeah,
Okay. People, oh, y'all know what this is?
That's Auburn Ave Street.
Okay, man. I know, right? So it was so small. People would come in and they would literally turn around and be like, "Where's the rest of it?" But it ended up becoming such a staple because at the time there was not a lot of after-hour spots.
Mm.
So we ended up, going to that after-hour model. And literally, you could come to the Hookah Hideaway, you might see a city council member, you might see, just one of your coworkers, you know what I'm saying? You would see all different types of people, and it really had the vibe of like a Cheers bar. And I was very successful in running the Hookah Hideaway. The side next door to me ended up becoming available, and I was able to rent that side out as well and make it a little bit larger. Now, one thing too, when I put in my application to the landlord to get the Hookah Hideaway, my credit was shot because, mind you, in 2008, 2009, I had lost all of these houses, just had went through a lot of financial ruin. So when I tell y'all, my credit score was probably only about a 500. So when I put in this application, I also wrote a letter to the landlord. And I said, I know on paper I don't look the best, but I am a very motivated person. And I promise, if you take a chance on me, this is going to be successful. I'll never be late, on a rent payment, etc. And so, they accepted it.
Wow.
I don't know why they accepted it. Me now being a landlord, I would have never a tenant that looked like me on paper. Long story short, because I could talk about my story all day. I've been through so many things, good and, challenges, adversity, tragedy. But anyways, opened up the Hookah Hideaway, very successful. I'm the type of person, if I do one thing that's successful, I'm going to duplicate it. So when I first moved to Atlanta, I used to hang out on Peter Street. And that's when they had like M-Bar and 255 and all these places. Found a location that was available, put an application in on it. Now by this time, I fixed my credit and, I'm looking a little bit better on paper. I got some money, etc. And so I went to Jamaica for the first time because I didn't really travel much, probably up until I was about 27 years old. Because mind you, I'm a single mother, I'm a business owner. Every dollar that I have that's extra, I'm saving it, I'm investing it, and trying to open up another business. So ended up going to Jamaica, was very excited about that, had a decent time. When I get back from Jamaica, I'm in the airport going through customs. customs officer comes up to me. And he was like, "Are you Miss Dillard?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Come here, I need you to take you with me." And so I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, did I leave some weed in my pocket? What is going on? Like, so we get back to the back office and he's like, "Did you know that you had a warrant for your arrest in Rutherford County, Tennessee?" And I said, "No, I didn't." I said, "I used to live in Tennessee, so I guess it's not totally unlikely, but no, I was not aware." When that newspaper company closed, the guy also did not deposit that last week's of money. So when I wrote the check to the printing company, it bounced. And the check was like a $5,000 check, which made it a felony.
Oh, God.
So they put the warrant out, and basically, eventually, now y'all, this is 6 years later, catching up with me. They called Rutherford County and they said, "Do y'all want to come get her? Do y'all want her to be extradited?" And they said yes.
Wow.
So after that, I was booked in Clayton County Jail. Now, mind you, at this time, I'm the owner of the Hookah Hideaway. About to open up another lounge. I've totally, completely changed my life. I'm doing all good for the bad, but like your auntie, your grandmama, and your mama will tell you, baby, karma loses no address. So anyways, I sat in jail for about 2 weeks. They came and got me. Was extradited, rode in a whole paddy wagon with a bunch of murderers and rapists and stuff like that. We were picking up people, stopping in jails, picking up people at all these various jails. Once we get up to Rutherford County, they decide they want to drop the charges.
Can't make that shit up.
So, thankful.
Do you think that was like God saying, "Hey, I'm about to teach you. I need you to soak in this for a couple of weeks"? And how was your faith? Do you think contributed to that?
So, I think that it was a humbling experience, and I think that we need those from time to time.
Yes.
That's pretty much what I felt. Now, while I was down there, I was super down spiritually and mentally. But also, one part that I forgot to tell y'all, so back to the application that I had put before I went in to Jamaica. So one of my friends has my cell phone, so I called him one day and have him check my voicemail for me, because I'm a businesswoman. I'm still trying to keep up with business.
Yeah.
And I have a voicemail from the realtor that I was working with. And I called him back, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, those, you didn't get that spot. Those people, they don't want to put a lounge, they don't want to have a lounge owner in there. He said, "But there's another spot on Peter Street." He said, "I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's a business manager for a very well-known rapper here in Atlanta. And he's actually heard about you before. He's heard of the Hookah Hideaway, and he's even heard about your party bus company. And he has always wanted to own a lounge. And he would like to do business with you." And so my first question, I'm like, who is it? Because number one, I'm not a starstruck individual at all, and every rapper is not intelligent. Just because you're a celebrity doesn't mean that I'm gonna get in bed with you business-wise, you know what I'm saying? So I never forget, it was like it just got silent. And I'm in this jail where people are screaming, they're yelling, they're banging their heads against walls. But it got silent. He was quiet for a minute. He said, "It's 2 Chainz." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I think I can work with him. He seems like a smart guy." Now, at the time, I'm not even thinking that this is really and truly going to come true, y'all. But I remember skipping up to my little cell that night and telling my little cellmate, "Hey, I'm about to open up a spot with 2 Chainz." So once I got back and they dropped the charges, I immediately came back to Atlanta the very next day and met with 2 Chainz the following day. And I was so nervous, I couldn't even sleep that night. And it wasn't because I was going to meet him, but I knew that if this meeting went well, that it would forever change my life. And it truly has. And so we ended up opening a Escobar restaurant in Tapas, and the rest of that has just truly been history. And I would say up until October 2nd, 2022, I pretty much lived a fairy tale, like making great money, didn't really have many bad things happening in my life. I felt like a lot of it was behind me, always having to jump hurdles and go through adversity and all of this stuff. And my daughter had started working for me. A long story short, my daughter ended up passing October 2nd, 2022. I actually found her myself. So that's been a major struggle that I've been trying to get past. Only been married for 2 years, recently going through a divorce right now. So I have endured a lot of personal success and a lot of tragedies and everything. I guess by the time I get up there, he gonna have a faithful soldier, because almost anything that you can go through, I have been through it.